I am New York.
Ya am New York.
I am New York.
Yo soy Nueva York.
Sono New York.
Je suis New York.
We are New York.
Welcome to DiverseCITY, where we explore New York's eclectic enclaves, one neighborhood at a time. I'm Linda Simidian. This month, we're in Port Morris, a neighborhood at the southernmost part of the South Bronx, nestled along the East River and across from Randall's Island. We'll also visit the waterfront area along the Harlem River, long thought of as part of Port Morris, but many identify as Mott Haven. Like many other waterfront neighborhoods, this area has seen significant shifts in the last 2 decades. Rezonings split the region into 2 very different places. In Port Morris to the east, pockets of residential communities live among welding and electric plants. The area is home to the Bronx Brewery and Silver Cup Studios North. And to the west, the region, also known as part of Mott Haven, has become home to popular businesses like the Lit Bar, Bistro, Choco Bar, and other hotspots. That area is also now perhaps the most visible example of rapid development that occurred during this last decade in the South Bronx. On this episode, Mott Haven Makeover, how past rezonings reshaped Bruckner Boulevard and gave way to a skyline. Peak pollution, local stakeholders have a plan to retire the Hellgate Peaker plant. And warehouse treasures, an auctioneering site in the industrial zone. Those stories and more coming up on DiverseCITY. The South Bronx now has a skyline clustered by the 3rd Avenue Bridge. This comes late to an area that's been in transformation for more than 2 decades. Shannon Ayala explored how rezoning set up this part of the South Bronx for competing visions to the neighborhood.
We used to have events here.
What kind of events?
Open mics, just like block parties with vendors.
Amaurys Grullon remembers Bruckner Boulevard before all the residential towers that went up in the last few years. He's one of the many creatives that found a sense of community here after the city rezoned a swath of the Bruckner Strip.
There was a whole thing here, and they destroyed it and just built this. They just built this, yeah.
What was there?
It was like an old building.
In 1996, the New York Times reported that the city sought to, quote, reverse an alarming loss of apartments that has been occurring as the city struggles to absorb an influx of new immigrants. The city then targeted industrial areas seen as underutilized, starting with Port Morris. In 1997, the city passed the Port Morris rezoning that converted 5 blocks of Bruckner Boulevard into a special MX, or mixed-use zone. That gave way to some 200 new apartments in places like a former piano factory called the Clock Tower building.
If you think about a monument or anything for Mott Haven, for Port Morris, I would say it's the Clock Tower.
The Port Morris rezoning gave way to restaurants, antique shops, and art spaces. The antique shops mostly faded, but newer places opened.
We wanted people to feel something, a real, authentic Bronx experience.
Grullon's store, Bronx native, like other nearby spots, pays homage to the creative heritage of the Boogie Down.
Here to keep the culture alive, here to keep the Bronx authentic, here to make sure that the people know that this is by us, for us.
That concept has been especially relevant. In 2004, the city expanded the Port Morris rezoning by 11 surrounding blocks. This included the waterfront by the 3rd Avenue Bridge. But the development boom that hit other MX areas in Brooklyn and Queens came slow to the Bronx. Meanwhile, some said the MX zones were killing industrial jobs. So the city turned the eastern swath of Port Morris into an industrial business zone. That's where environmental battles have cropped up.
So this is one of the renderings we have of the waterfront, of our waterfront plan, and this is a couple sites we'll be visiting.
Mychal Johnson co-founded South Bronx Unite over a decade back to stop Fresh Direct from relocating to the Port Morris waterfront. They said it would bring too much truck pollution. They lost that battle, but the group now has an office above Bronx Native and congregates across the street in the Maria Sola green space. They've taken a grassroots approach and worked with students to draft a bottom-up, community-based plan for the area.
The students did this reflection on how they thought we could create bioswales and green mitigation measures on what right now is only an asphalt area.
Developers, naturally, are another element in the mix. In 2015, Keith Rubenstein of Somerset Partners bought up parcels of land by the 3rd Avenue Bridge. As the Commercial Observer later reported, Rubenstein stoked fears about gentrification by installing a billboard that dubbed the area the Piano District, a reference to early 20th century piano factories.
And he was trying to reclaim and rename this community the Piano District.
It's kind of like a slap in the face, kind of like, oh, we've been doing this, and now, oh, the Piano District, so it can sound a little bit better, so it can sound a little bit, catering to a certain type of demographic, certain type of audience.
Rubenstein even threw a gala with celebrities using the hashtag Bronx is Burning, a reference to the 1970s when the South Bronx suffered from a wave of arson.
We protested that.
Our people spoke up, social media, we did our thing, we came here, we rallied.
Somerset dropped the Piano District concept and sold the land to Brookfield Properties. But South Bronx activists are still at odds with these developments. They say the new housing is inaccessible to the community. In 2019, 37% of the Port Morris-Mott Haven area lived in poverty, and the median rent was $1,000. At Brookfield's 7-building development, 3rd at Bankside, units set aside for affordable housing have rent starting at $2,500 and income requirements starting at $86,000.
Do we want benches here? How do we want people to sit here? Do we want to do plantings of those tulip or those daffodil bulbs along the fence area?
Now, South Bronx Unite is working to make much of the remaining waterfront in Port Morris outside the MX zone into public park space.
We want this connecting green ribbon taken behind Waste Management Facility all the way around.
Johnson says the developers can work with the community to help make that vision happen.
They could help implement this, but their name can't be on it. It's not theirs. It's the public's. It's the community's.
Shannon Ayala for DiverseCITY.
The South Bronx is known statistically and unfortunately to have one of the highest asthma rates in the nation. Often, a knot of highways and the thousands of freight trucks that use them are to blame. But there are plans to address another part of this toxic equation: local peaker plants.
The South Bronx community has put up many fights for clean air over the years, but a recent battle over local peaker plants is coming to a resolution.
This is called, I believe, the NYPA Hellgate Small Clean Power Plant. It's owned by the New York Power Authority, which is a state entity that runs around 6 peaker plants in New York City.
Daniel Chu is the energy planner with the New York City Environmental Justice Alliance.
All power plants that run on fossil fuels are polluting, but peaker plants, one, they cost a lot more for a lot less of power that they generate. They give out a lot more NOx emissions and other co-pollutants than regular power plants. And at the same time, they're often located in disadvantaged communities, which are environmental justice communities. Often you think low-income or people of color communities in New York City.
Peaker plants are power plants that only run during peak electricity hours. And while most power plants emit particle pollution, peaker plants are worse as diesel generators emit large amounts of nitrogen oxide and sulfur oxide. But the Peak Coalition, a group of 5 local stakeholders, is aiming to close the plants.
We came together because we really see peaker plants as a problem that can be addressed today. Peaker plants obviously don't run that often, but they're very polluting and they have a lot of cost and impact. And we believe through our research that you can use a combination of renewable energy, energy storage, and other strategies to retire peaker plants as soon as possible.
In 2022, the coalition published a study that prompted the New York Power Authority to put out a request for proposal to rejig the site into a home for renewable energy. These goals fit in with the Power Authority's plan to completely decarbonize the energy grid by 2035.
I think a lot of these power plant sites, if they're small, have a really great opportunity and easy opportunity to transition to battery storage and renewable energy resources.
Keeping the peaker plants idle is exorbitantly costly to ratepayers.
From the year 2010 to 2019, our calculations showed that peaker plants cost around $4.5 billion in standby charges, which are insurance for them to turn on when we need the power from the peaker plants. So that is a lot of money that we're paying for a power plant to stand by and not run at all.
Shutting down peaker plants and installing battery storage will fix one problem, but in the South Bronx, air pollution also comes from elsewhere.
Everyone who has to grow up in the Bronx, the South Bronx, experiences a universal trauma.
That's Victor Dávila, community organizer at the Point CDC, a Hunts Point-based community organization. Hunts Point is the neighborhood just north of Port Morris. And unfortunately for Victor, this issue has hit close to home, as his 57-year-old father recently had a stroke.
He works in the Hunts Point food market. He's been surrounded by nitrous oxide pollution his entire life. Workers in that area are soaking in this pollution every single day. My dad, working for the last 30 years at the Hunts Point food market, put him at extreme risk. It's not the first time he's had this before.
The food distribution center sees almost 20,000 trucks every day.
We are a massive receiver of different trucks coming in and out of the market in general. We have the Budweiser facility, last mile shipments here. We have a ton of Amazon facilities, which are more and more encroaching in on our area. There's just a myriad of different sources of pollution.
But Victor says efforts are underway to rectify those problems within the community of the South Bronx.
For Hunts Point Market specifically, there is an effort to create a new electric truck terminal where EV trucks will be able to dock, recharge, have a safe place to rest. I see renewables being put here as probably the first real investment into these communities that we have seen in a very, very long time. Those things are all possible under these ideal conditions where the renewables we build, the spaces we build, and the good infrastructure we build actually ends up landing in the hands of residents.
Daniel Chu notes that the Point CDC is playing a crucial role in community awareness about the peaker plants and other issues.
The reason why we have the Point as a member of Peak Coalition is because they can provide critical insight and community engagement on the reasons why retiring peaker plants is such an easy, critical task.
And from Hunts Point down to Port Morris, in what's known as Asthma Alley, the hope is that the transition to renewable energy sources will help reduce pollution while providing these communities with actual, tangible benefits.
We really imagine a lot of these sites to transition into energy infrastructure that is still non-polluting, that employs a lot of local workforces to construct and develop and maintain the energy storage infrastructures. In the process of transitioning from a fossil fuel power energy system to a renewable energy system, how we can take care of the community around it at the same time. So thinking about local workforce deployment, thinking about local community education around energy, and all the different environmental benefits and subsequent related benefits that come with it is one of our goals.
For DiverseCITY, I'm Craig Thompson.
Tucked away in the industrial zone of Port Morris is a place where you can browse through one-of-a-kind gems. It's called Hayloft Auctions, and I got to take a look inside.
So we're going to start off tonight's bidding at $200,000.
If the thought of stepping into the auction world seems a bit daunting, you're not alone. Movies often paint them as exclusive events only for the wealthy. But there's a place in Port Morris that's flipping the script.
Auction is not scary. It's not some white glove thing that you have to walk in and feel intimidated by. I mean, our gates are open most of the time, and we know all of our neighbors on the block. People passing by will stop in and we'll just tell them like, oh my gosh, yeah, we're an auction house. You can take a look around, but our sale will be online.
Erin Mandley is the VP and Director of Hayloft Auctions by Doyle.
We auction anything from antique furniture to lighting, glassware, paintings, clothing sometimes, handbags, anything really.
I'm in charge of unpacking boxes when they come in, have it ready for my boss to come and just catalog. Then we'll swing around. We got the furniture. At the end of the warehouse, we have the photo area where we do all the shooting. Lamps, cups, dishes, silverware, all kind of knickknacks, sculptures. We could definitely average close to 1,000 pieces every week.
This is our bric-a-brac room. So pretty much what we do is everything that's like a small item, like china, silver, like little tchotchkes that you could put on your cabinet or even lamps, we put it in this room.
As the auction coordinator, Susan Hodge takes care of specifics, measurements and photographs, as well as deciding what items to group together as a single unit going up for auction. Once the auction information is set, individuals can check out the lots in person during the sale dates. When the timed auction actually begins, it is online only, with bidders competing for the lots on Hayloft's website. There's also a special feature called a soft close. This allows the auction to stay live for a few additional minutes if there's active bidding on an item.
We're very different from eBay. Our bidders know when our sales are happening. There are some that actually take the time and come and visit with our team, and we talk about the market and we talk about other things, and it turns into like a nice day.
However pleasant some moments may be, it doesn't diminish the staggering workload for the dedicated team, getting approximately 500 items ready every month. And what are some of the items of interest?
We're seeing a huge uptick in any kind of bamboo furniture. There's been a resurgence in kind of that style or little accent pieces. Anything Louis XVI is always going to sell, or Louis XVI style. It's very refined, very beautiful all the time.
And can you get a deal at an auction? Here's Oscar Arrieta's ultimate find.
I bought this item. It was like a wall unit. I bought it for $45, but it was worth $8,000. So I was like so thrilled.
This cool warehouse has been part of the Port Morris neighborhood since 2016 and has a lofty goal: to be inviting to all.
We want to appeal to a younger crowd, especially with the Gen Zers and their kind of push for the green initiative, where you can take gently used items and make them something your own. That's where we kind of pride ourselves on. We have these great antiques where we have, some dealers and some private collectors coming in and buying them, but at the same time we have local young people who are looking to furnish their first homes or their dorm rooms for something cool and spunky. So we invite everybody, and we hope that our prices online, we start things as low as $25 most of the time.
It's a great place for young collectors to come and bid. I know auctions can be intimidating for some people. They think everything has to be in the thousands and up. And this is just really refreshing. People like me, people of any background can bid and can come home with a treasure.
Nearly 20 years, Rosa Garcia has made it her mission to feed and take care of her community. Latina's Elena Romero was on assignment for us this month and shares Garcia's story.
I want people to know that there is a place in the Bronx that people don't have to leave outside of the Bronx to have fun, to catch a vibe, to get great food. I want them to know that I want to make that accessible to them here in the Bronx.
Rosa Garcia is the co-owner of Rosa's at Park, the 2-year-old bar and rooftop lounge located inside the Wingate by Wyndham Bronx Haven Park Hotel on Park Avenue at 138th Street. Garcia brings a lot of herself to her place.
I'm Dominican, and I really wanted to kind of bring my heritage into the establishment, so it's very Latin fusion. The menu is a little bit of my old restaurant, My Haven Bar and Grill, and also what I wanted to bring, a little bit of my culture, the presentation, and everything else.
Garcia credits being at the right place at the right time as one of the reasons why she became an entrepreneur. Flooding in Mott Haven by Hurricane Sandy coupled with infighting by the original owners of the Bruckner Bar and Grill, created an opportunity for Garcia to go from bar manager to owner.
While they were fighting, I was in the back creating a business plan, because I know sometimes when an ego gets in the way, everything falls apart. And I handed my landlord a business plan in April of 2013. Mott Haven was kind of like the Cheers of the Bronx too. People used to go and just have a good time and feel safe.
She renamed her place the Mott Haven Bar and Grill, and it became a meeting and creative space for the community, artists, and those promoting women's empowerment. This made Garcia a central figure in the community. But in 2021, she had to close her restaurant due to a landlord dispute. A short distance away, she would find her next opportunity to be the signature eatery of the Wingate Hotel. Every detail at Rosa's at Park is intentional, including the female-centered pop artwork of Boricua graffiti artist Sen 2.
If you look at all his artwork, it has a woman somewhere. It's around women empowerment and Wonder Woman, of course, because women are Wonder Woman. We do everything. We have like 20 different capes all at once.
And this speaks directly to the superpowers of Garcia. On her own since 18, the now 42-year-old is a single mom of 2, an avid marathon runner, and certified life coach. The BMCC graduate is also looking to return to school for nursing while continuing to run her business.
I just like taking care of people. I mean, I like restaurant, hospitality, because customer service, and there's so many personalities, and my days are never the same.
An active member of the South Bronx Alliance and the New York State Latino Restaurant Association, Garcia continues to be a reliable community advocate, corralling local developers and business owners to support her community initiatives.
So for 10 years now, I've been giving food to families in need of the Mott Haven area. At the beginning, I started with feeding just 500 families. They went up to 1,000, they went up to 2,000. I came from nothing. I know what it was to sleep on the floor, to wait till your mom or your grandmother could cook a meal for you. I also know that a meal shouldn't be something that anyone should have to struggle to get.
Garcia, who has received numerous awards for her community work, recommends all to pay Mott Haven a visit.
If you really want to know about Mott Haven, just come. Stop by Rosa's, stop by any other businesses in Alexander Avenue, and just really see, the beauty and the culture that we have to offer by coming here.
For Diverse City, I'm Elena Romero.
That's our look at Port Morris and Mott Haven in the South Bronx. And finally, we have to say goodbye to Zyphus Lebrun, the host of Diverse City. Zyphus has been with CUNY TV for 2 decades and was not much older than a student himself when he started. Zyphus is leaving the network as an experienced producer, loved and respected coworker, as well as a husband and father of 2. Zyphus, good luck on your new adventures. You will be missed. Thanks for joining us, and never stop exploring our diverse city.